heartbreaking news that we're getting from the Manchester police this morning, the statements that they're putting out of mothers that they found who are still looking for their daughters and daughters that they found who are still looking for their mothers, and they can't find the rest of their families. And I think that's what is making... Europe is getting used to attacks like this, Mika. We have to, because we are never going to be able to totally wipe this out. As ISIS gets squeezed in Syria and Iraq, we're going to see more of these kinds of attacks taking place in Europe, and Europe is starting to get used to that. None of us are used to having children targeted in this way, young girls targeted in this way.
Caddy, thank you.
So, I played that video of the BBC host coming into the intro right now, saying that we have to basically get used to this. Because it's just going to happen so regularly that there's just so many jihadists and Muslims here now in the Western nations, particularly Europe and the UK and France and Germany hitting home, particularly Sweden as well. All these other different countries that are just, you know, becoming Stockholmed and accepting these people and just loving it, and saying that if you don't accept these Muslims that fight for ISIS and come back into the country and trying to assimilate as normal people, then you're a xenophobic, Islamophobic bigot. So, and then we see this from a mainstream, mainline host of BBC saying that on live TV. And she's getting a lot of heat for that right now, by the way. Don't think she's just getting away with that. There's a lot of heat going towards her way. A lot of other people on Twitter with heat going towards their way, as more comments that are dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber by the almost half hour just keep popping up. I don't have a Twitter account, so I don't want to say, I don't care. I'm not really a big Twitter person. I'm not big social media like that. But just from what I'm seeing on news articles and people on Facebook, you know, sharing tweets and stuff like that, it's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Now, more details going to come out on this, and more has already came out. Apparently now, this is out of CBS News. Manchester bomber identified, latest in terror investigation. 22-year-old Salman Abedi of Libyan descent, his parents are Libyan, was apparently behind the... well, it was the guy that blew himself up. Okay, let's just be honest. That's the guy that blew himself up. Apparently now, there's other witnesses that have come out to say, you know, they saw a woman really being fidgety and stuff, and kind of suspicious activity that no one reported on because they don't want to be labeled as some kind of xenophobic racist, naturally. And some of the cops probably, you know, apparently stood down and really didn't take the orders as seriously. But, you know, we've seen that again, inauguration, at other places. And that's all just flooding into the gates as we're having more eyewitness testimonies pour into the public eye now. Which is, I think, great. We need more people. I want to see more perspectives. I want to see what they're saying versus what the media's saying. And, I mean, I can't even believe that some people are still even questioning that this was a nail bomb. I mean, clearly it was ISIS, Al-Qaeda, radical Islam oriented. And there's almost no debating that. There's almost no debating that. There's already proof there. Children are dead on the streets. Parents looking for their kids. I mean, it was a tragic situation. People getting really upset about this. And it pissed me off when I saw it. Because I'm just like, wow, look, the same people at these concerts, usually typically the same people that go to these concerts are with the pop culture, like super trendy and shit. Excuse me. They are the ones that want to push this. Oh, you're racist. You like Trump. You like Nigel Farage. You like Milo Yiannopoulos and stuff, like, you know, like, you like all these fascists and racists, you Nazi, when, you know, we're just trying to be open and we want to let these people live here and be part of us and be with us, and, you know, shut up. Okay, they don't know what they're talking about. One, they obviously hasn't studied history, at least on a broad level. And it's like, I mean, it's not hard to say that, yeah, no, I feel bad for the really, really moderate Muslims that don't want to do harm to Christians, that just want to assimilate and be good. You know, they want to move here to be part of America, be part of Western Europe, Eastern Europe for that, be part of any westernized country that doesn't want to blow people's heads off, okay? With shrapnel inside the bombs. And, you know, those people I feel bad for, too, because they are the ones getting the crap end of the stick, the ass end of it, while, you know, you've got the radical forms happening all over the Middle East with, for the past 1,400 years, which ultimately created the Crusades to defeat them. Not a lot of people will tell you that. But, that's really what we're seeing here. And, I mean, it's scary, too, because a lot of these Muslim organizations, like the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas was created in America. You got CARE here in America. Council for American Islamic Relations. And a bunch of other, radical jihadist groups that are just formulating here because we have the political, I guess, environment to create that. With the whole First Amendment and such. Rights of religion, but where does the gray line become darker and darker as it forms into a cult and a terrorist organization than a religion? Well, you can look at the Middle East and right down the street, pretty much, in your own country. So that's pretty much come out. That's what we're seeing right now. And as you know, this already has been, like, over the weekend. It's been kind of a busy news week. This past week has been busy. Yesterday was busy. I mean, it's just been a crazy news day from the get-go. We got the president over there. He was in Saudi Arabia for 2 days. I think it's great that he's getting out of Washington, even though people are saying, oh, well, he's got all those scandals and crap he's leaving behind. Look, one, there's no scandal. Let's just get one thing straight. One, there's no proof at all that there's any Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. I don't care what they say about Jeff Sessions being part of it. He was doing his job as a senator, talking to an ambassador. Michael Flynn, it's wishy-washy, but he still had leaked memos to the Washington Post, along with James Comey leaking his memos. And, we just got a bunch of leaks from inside the White House, from insiders that are working with Trump that are trying to ultimately sabotage him. I mean, the Democrats are openly out there trying to take down the president. Probably COG. But that's intense, and that could happen. Who's to say? That could happen. But we'll see with that. Anyway, it's happening as you speak. And so back to what I was saying. He was out in the Middle East. It was just Saudi Arabia. He's meeting with the King Solomon. They are the number one pretty much next to Iran. They're big pushers, even though they're arch enemies. Big pushers of funding radical jihadists across the globe. But now we're seeing them have this big display. There's now this big display on the wall. And it's apparently live tracking, terrorist plots that are happening across the globe, financial ties and things like that. And they got that big big orb that everyone's making fun of, and they're using that as like a scroll pad kind of. I don't know. It kind of just hyped it up a little bit too much for my fancy. Not really big on that. But, I ultimately thought he gave a good speech. I watched pretty much the whole thing. He gave a good speech there in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't see a problem with it. But, a lot of people are saying, too, that he bowed when he took the medallion and things like that. And, obviously he didn't. He's not trying to do that. We saw Obama do a straight-up 90-degree bow to the king 8 years ago? So I don't want to hear it from the left. I really don't want to hear that anymore. It's not true. It's false news. Just like the whole Melania swatting his hand. I don't want to get into that. I don't care about that stuff. It's just petty right now when we have people dying on the streets of Western countries from radical jihadis that the CIA basically created. So that to me is the bigger story. Now he's in Tel Aviv, and he went to Jerusalem too. He's in Israel. First president ever to visit the Western Wall, which is surprising to me, but I guess it's great too. Good, it looks good on Trump. Now I think on Drudge now. I'll see if I can pull it up on here. Maybe not by the time I get this done. He's got a 46% approval rating, which is up a lot. I haven't seen which polling agency this is. I don't know if it's Rasmussen or Gallup or anything like that. But I know he's up, 10% from what he was a couple weeks ago. And he's going up and up because they're seeing him do great in the Middle East. I think it's good that he's going to the Middle East. I think we should try and help out, let alone not just America, but not be a police state to the world, but just shine the light of ideology across the globe, especially to the Middle East where they're having the most problems, and to these countries that are our allies, like Saudi Arabia and Israel, and kind of just be like, look, you guys have to fight this problem by yourself. Also, we can't be here, sucking our thumbs and dragging your hand across the dirt, trying to fight Al-Qaeda and ISIS and on this, we're basically all the same thing in one jam-packed title. we can't be there policing you. You have to follow us, but you also have to do your own thing in fighting this. So I think Trump made a good speech. I think he's doing a good job going to the Middle East. I think he should get back though pretty soon, and just kill this whole Russia narrative bull. I mean, it's total crap to me. And I mean, we just had the CIA director, former CIA director, and known Wahhabist John Brennan go in front of Congress, the House Intelligence Committee today, and testify with Trey Gowdy grilling him. I always love watching Trey Gowdy do his thing up there on television. They just grilling the man on if there was any evidence, and basically he goes on to say there is no evidence. I'll probably play this later or throughout the break if I can speak today. But we got a lot of stuff going on locally and domestically and internationally, and a lot of threats happening. And ISIS has even come out now saying that we're going to use more vehicle attacks. Their old tactics from their old magazines and things like that they used on the Westminster Bridge. Just I believe maybe less than a couple months ago. It goes by so fast, and there's so much things going on here that it's hard to keep up with everything abroad as well. But it's part of just staying in the game, basically. So, when we come back from my little break, we'll go over that. We'll go over what the CIA is saying. And we're also going to break down this giant Seth Rich story that the media clearly doesn't want you to see, which Kim.com is a big part of, which they were part of also hand-in-hand kind of with WikiLeaks, trying to expose the DNC emails and things like that, and the leaks that were coming out. Kim.com's great. He's a good guy. I like what he's doing. His work is impeccable. Just like WikiLeaks, basically. And, we're going to cover what the media is not telling you. Sean Hannity got a good grip on this. He actually made contact, I believe, with Kim.com as well, but we'll dive deeper to that. It kind of just broke a little bit, and I haven't had time to look over it in heavy detail, but I've got enough intel to know, along with the James Comey thing that's kind of died down now ever since this whole, Manchester arena bombing went on last night with Ariana Grande. So a lot of it's coming out. A lot of it's going to be folded and suppressed under this blanket of overwhelming news in Great Britain with these terrorist attacks and more to come, along with what's been going on with ISIS in general. So, when we come back, I'll break that down. I'll go over a lot more. Stay right here and don't move. I'm going to have a lot more information for you when we come back.